We've had so many women's storyline in WWE history, some awful one too, and recently we've had some great long-term storytelling too. But that wasn't always the case. Back in the day, WWE wasn't really doing much with their women's division. Most of the time, they were either managers or having bra and panties match. However, some women's wrestlers were just too talented for those things, and when the opportunity presented to them, they simply created magic. Sometimes, the rivalry will be so good that WWE have no choice but to put them in the main event. So join us as we count down the 5 greatest women's storyline in WWE history. To continue, make sure to subscribe to never miss a video. Number 5. Becky Lynch vs Bianca Belair. It all started SummerSlam 2021 when Belair was supposed to face Sasha back at SummerSlam, but instead we had the shocking return of Becky Lynch. Everyone thought we were going to get a 30-minute match, but instead what we got shocked the entire world and pissed a lot of fans off. Becky slapped Bianca and defeated her in 15 seconds, which created a lot of rage in the WWE universe. Everyone was upset by the decision. Everyone kept saying they buried Bianca. But looking back at it, it turned out to be a great decision. They slowly built Bianca back up and had her face Becky at WrestleMania 38. They both stole the show that night. Bianca was able to defeat Becky to retain her Raw Women's Championship. They both faced each other again, this time at SummerSlam, to complete the trilogy where Bianca retained her title against Becky, with the two hugging at the end. They ended that rivalry perfectly. Number 4. Sasha Banks vs Bayley. Their rivalry started at NXT. The match that they had at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn was a very special match. It's one of the best women's match I've ever seen. That match was incredible from start to finish. They continued their rivalry up to the main roster. When Bayley debuted on Raw in 2016, her and Sasha immediately became best friends on screen and became the first team to win the Women's Tag Team Championship. Everyone was waiting for Sasha to turn her back on Bayley. Their best work together happened during COVID when they were literally carrying Raw and SmackDown on their back each week. To everyone's surprise, it was Bayley who ended up betraying Sasha. They had a brutal Hell in a Cell match to conclude their rivalry. I wish that match would have happened in front of a live crowd though, but it is what it is. 3. Trish Stratus vs Mickie James. Their rivalry started in 2005. James and Trish told the story of an obsessed superfan who won't leave her idol alone. It's the most unique story you'll ever see. James played the role of an obsessed stalker to perfection. She was literally Joe Goldberg. She was in love with Trish. Yes, you heard me right, she was in love. She even dressed up like Trish. She even kissed Trish. Mickie literally wanted to be Trish. At first, she was doing everything in her power to protect Trish, but once she felt the sting of rejection from her role model, everything changed. Mickie then challenged Trish for her title at WrestleMania. To everybody's surprise, Mickie was the fans' favorite to win the match, and she won. The match wasn't that great, but the story was perfect. But 2. Becky Lynch vs Charlotte Flair. From best friend to real-life enemy, which makes great television in the wrestling business. They were best friends in NXT. Becky was considered as the weakling of the 4 horsewomen, and at the time, I guess she was. Charlotte, on the other hand, was already destined for greatness. On the main roster, Charlotte was already a multiple-time champion. What saved Becky was SummerSlam 2018, where Becky slapped Charlotte and supposedly turned heel, but the fans loved it. So Becky then became the man, which created an issue with Ric Flair. Rick wasn't happy with Becky calling herself the man. That is obviously a nickname that people know with the Nature Boy. But then Lynch took it. He went on as far as considering suing the company, which added some real heat between all parties involved. The storyline between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair really heated up when they were told to hand over the title. And boy, things got out of hand. The 2 women had been drafted to opposite brand, which meant that they had to trade the championship to their respective shows. However, the segment went down poorly in a legitimate way where the 2 almost had a true fight backstage. In an interview recently, Lynch claimed that Flair was jealous of her success in WWE, which ultimately led to the fall of their long-term friendship. We don't like each other like we used to. Number 1. Trish Stratus vs Lita. They both were able to smash down barriers and became 2 of the biggest actors in the Attitude Era. The pops they would get were nearly as loud as Triple H, Vince McMahon, or even The Rock. There was nothing not to like about either Trish or Lita. They would get better every week. They both debuted in the same year and come from similar backgrounds. Trish's first match in the company was actually against Lita in a tag match. The rivalry gets personal when Lita was forced to marry Kane and Trish was just mocking her every week. Their rivalry was so good that for the first time ever, the women's main evented a show. It was actually the first time in history that the women's main evented Raw. We are talking about a roster that included Triple H, Batista, Kane, Goldberg, and even Chris Jericho, and they still main evented. Why? Because they earned it. The last match would be against Lita at Unforgiven 2006 in Trish Stratus' hometown of Toronto. Trish was already a 6-time women's champion and still defeated Lita that night to become a 7-time women's champion, creating a new record which wasn't broken until years later. She left the company as champion. Talk about a perfect ending. Months later, Lita would retire too. They are now both two Hall of Famers, two absolute legends. So I guess it's safe to say, thank you Trish. And also you, Lita. So that was it. Make sure to smash that like button and to subscribe for more content, or you can just click a video on the screen. And until next time, thanks for watching.